Good morning. It's fall out. Oh, it's so nice out right now. As you can see, beans are ramping back up, and I'm picking every single day. If I don't, then I get some obnoxiously large beans that are inedible. And I've already saved enough seeds this year, so I'm trying not to get any, let them go too big so they don't go to waste. And we're officially into October, into spooky season. And I just wanted to give you a look around and see how the garden's doing. It's been a little while since I've done a full tour. I've got a few fall things that I've started and summer things that are still going. Well, it's not bad, little bean harvest. Not as big as I have been getting, but like I said, I've been harvesting every day, a lot of times twice a day, and I had a big haul yesterday. I have banana peppers coming out my ears. No shortage there. I made this fantastic stuffed banana pepper recipe. It had Italian sausage and different cheeses in it. It was absolutely delicious, and my husband even liked it, so that's a plus. Looks like I'll be making more of that here soon because I have plenty of banana peppers to do that quite a few times more. That little pepper patch. It's quite spread out, and my poor eggplant back here is getting choked out. But you know what? I don't care, because I have another eggplant plant that's actually producing. This one's not really. And I'm so sick of eggplant at this point that a slowdown in that isn't the end of the world. And this is the eggplant plant that is actually producing. It's a long purple eggplant. But let's see if I can get in this denseness. As you can see, we don't have a shortage. There's more and more. Oh geez, that's a big one. I gotta get in there and pick that. And I started this pepper plant. It's a Corbaci pepper. Let me double check. Yep, Corbaci pepper. I started this in July, just on a whim because I got new seeds and, well, I couldn't wait. So it looks like we're finally going to get some peppers on here. It should have enough time to at least ripen a few for me to try. But these are just, I love the shape. I haven't tried this variety before. I'm trying to get into peppers more now. I've never been a huge pepper fan. Wow, that one's huge. Never been a huge pepper fan, but I'm broadening my horizons, trying new things, and honestly, I might like peppers more than I thought I did. But not bell peppers. I don't think I'll ever enjoy bell peppers. Jeez. It's so long. Okay, and squash bed doesn't look super pretty at the moment. It really took a toll this year with a rainy season, pests and disease, and all that good stuff. But the patty pan is actually doing really well. Got a lot in there. My current struggle is with pickle worms. They're getting to the fruit and hollowing them out, making them rot before I have a chance to pick them, before they're even mature. I mean, before they even flower half the time. So I'm coming in here and harvesting them young just to get a harvest on them before the pickle worms get to them. You can see pickle worm frass and all those little orange balls. That's pickle worm poop. They've been doing something new to me this year, and not just burrowing into the fruit, but burrowing into the stems as well and eating the stems. That's not squash vine borer damage. That is completely hollowed out. And I've seen no activity of squash vine borers in the last few weeks here. That is a pickle worm that didn't have any fruit to eat, so they took their business elsewhere. And this looks like a very, very unhappy melon vine. That's the Nanas de Amérique cantaloupe. And it has seen better days. That is also quite a lot to do with pickle worms. You can see right there. That's where they've also burrowed into the stem, and they cause die-off of an entire vine and anything attached to it. And it's definitely pickle worms. I've dug them out and seen them firsthand. They're not squash vine borers. But we are still getting fruit. A little one back there. I've also bagged a couple others because, again, the pickle worms have absolutely decimated the melons. They've taken 3 or 4 of them from me already, so I'm bagging a couple at a time just so I can get some decent fruit. And it's actually producing very, very well, despite looking a little sad and not longing for this world. You saw me harvesting some green beans. Doesn't look too bad. Trellis is a little bit thin right now, but it's still producing quite well. It's fine. They don't always look pretty by the end of the year, but I'm just happy we're still getting a very, very good harvest, and it's picked up as much as it has. So much for being bush beans. These are the Purple Queen, and they were supposed to be a bush bean, but they've traveled a little. I mean, some of them stayed like a bush bean. Others, not so much. I actually have a squash plant that migrated out of a completely separate bed and into my green beans. Hi, little bee. Oh wow, that's gonna be a good one. This is another patty pan. I swear patty pan is doing great this year. All my others, I missed the green bean. All the others have kind of struggled a little bit with pest and diseases. It was a very difficult year with pests. Oh, I missed another one. There's a hope that I might get tomatoes before the end of the season. This was a cutting off of one of my plants before it got taken by disease. I babied it and grew it out, so now it's relatively good size, but it's not flowering yet. I did post a video on how to sow carrots a while back, and those have come up beautifully. I did not thin them out though. I lost track of time. So they may end up being a little bit small, but we'll see. Pretty sure last garden tour we were keeping an eye on this black diamond watermelon and had a couple growing. Well, I harvested one. It wasn't fully ripe yet, despite all the signs showing it was, and the other one split from the rain, so no black diamond watermelon for me. Oh well. At least I haven't been let down by the orange tender sweet. And then you can see the, what was this? Banana melon. Looking pretty rough too. It's the pickle worms. I mean, once they're in the fruit, once they're in the vine, it's not much you can do about them, especially on these smaller vined plants. I did have a very, very large banana melon that I thought was ripe until I picked it up and it was completely hollowed out by pickle worms. I posted a video on that earlier, but since then I've had another one start growing, so I put that in a bag to keep the worms from being able to get to it. It's a decent size already. I'm afraid that it's going to outgrow its bag though, because the other one, by the time I picked it, was 2.5 feet long. So, we shall see. Hopefully we have enough season left for it to ripen. Another small patch of squash, mostly patty pan, that's actually doing really well. A lot of it's pretty much gone downhill. I'm honestly not sure what plants are in here. It's such a vining mess. A lot of it died off, and then when the cool weather came in, it started coming back. Looking really good. So the stuff from the summer garden, yeah, a lot of it's looking really rough. A lot of it's still producing, and a lot of it is bouncing back. So I'm just going to keep letting it be. I did clear out some truly diseased plants that just had absolutely no chance of coming back, and that's where I ended up planting some of my fall garden stuff. Now, I kind of threw caution to the wind this year with my fall garden, dumped a bunch of seeds out in my hand, came out to the garden with a mixed handful of seeds and just started putting them everywhere. So I honestly can't tell you what's planted where. So I'm pretty certain this is lettuce. It's pretty obvious. Now, I did resow some seeds because something ate a lot of the seeds, the seedlings as they came up. So there's little kind of patches everywhere where the soil's been cleared. That's where some of my seeds are sown. Something is coming up here. So it could be one of 3 things: cauliflower, broccoli, or Brussels sprouts. That's primarily what I planted over in this area. So I guess we'll find out what it is. Because honestly, I have no idea. Another mystery brassica. And plenty more areas still waiting to germinate. I did also plant some peas. Since I don't have like a designated area for peas, I like to just kind of pull them through this chicken wire once they're a little bit larger and have them grow on the outside of the garden bed. It just keeps them from getting to be a tangled mess, keeps them out of the way, and gives them something to climb. It worked out really well for me in the spring. I have pea plants kind of everywhere. I had somewhat poor germination, so I did resow some more. I'm just waiting for those to sprout. Some decent ones. Looks like something's been nibbling on it though. Yeah, this is the Cascadia pea. It's a shelling pea. You'll just eat the peas inside the pod itself. It's not really edible, but they're growing. That wasn't like that yesterday. I don't see anything there. You know, it was probably my dog, to be honest. The fence is here to keep her out, and anything that pokes through is fair game. The bees are loving this cooler weather. Okay, so I'm just gonna harvest a few of the things that I came across while I was filming, and then we'll move on to the next section of the garden. I have a note before we leave this section of the garden. Last year, where I have this melon planted, I had dormant red raspberries and decided I wanted to move them to a different location. I dug out all the soil in this bed because I knew if I didn't get all the roots out, I'd have ones popping up. Well, I have more than just a few. I've got full-blown canes of raspberries popping up, despite moving those raspberries before you know, the spring. So looks like I'll be digging this up again. Plant arches just make me so happy. Right now we're in the sweet potato, loofah. Trying to think of what's still alive. I think there's a watermelon in here somewhere. Oh, and maypop, our native passion fruit. Although it's 90% sweet potato now, that's kind of taken over everything. But I do still have some loofah growing. I have thoroughly enjoyed looking out my window each morning and seeing sweet potato flowers. You can get any real good views. I keep waiting for the day that this whole thing is just covered in purple blooms. For right now, it's still a little bit sporadic, but they're just so pretty. They are related to morning glories. Only bloom for a brief period in the morning before they start kind of withering up. But they are so pretty. As you can see, that's 90% sweet potato there. These here, that is the maypop. It's getting crowded out. It hasn't flowered this year. It's just too crowded. So I'm gonna have to think of a different layout for the vining plants next year. I do have loofah still growing. You see a lot of dead around here. It's struggling towards the end of the year here, but it's still growing loofah, and there are still healthy vines on here. If I can find one. Yeah, there's a healthy leaf. But it's predominantly because the sweet potato is absolutely choking everything out. Lesson learned, sweet potato got bigger than anticipated. And that's not even all of it. It's also all over the ground all over there. The loofah has done phenomenally well all year and had no crowding out issues up until very, very recently. And the sweet potato is pretty much ready to be harvested. I could harvest it any day. I'm just kind of biding my time a little bit. So I'm not overly concerned about it choking out the loofah right now, because it's October. It's going to get cool out. Loofah is a subtropical plant. It's not going to survive freezes, and it's likely just going to stop producing even when it gets a little bit cooler. So I kind of expect the last gourds that are on the plant right now are going to be the last ones I see for the season. So I've got like 4 right there. I've got a little one right there. So 6 more. I have more than enough that I've harvested already, so that's fine. For this monstrosity, I planted 5 sweet potato slips only because I happened to find a sprouted sweet potato in my pantry and had a little extra space, so I went with it. But let's see if I can get you in there. I've got sweet potatoes everywhere. Everywhere I brush away mulch, there's potatoes. So I need to get in here and harvest real soon. But I was really hoping that the whole arch would be absolutely covered in blossoms, and I'd be able to see that at least once before I harvested and ripped everything out. Okay, so this is my first year ever growing sweet potatoes. And initially, that's gonna be a big one, I had planned on harvesting it when it was a little bit cooler, or sorry, warmer, before it cooled down, so I could use the outside temperatures, the heat and humidity to cure them. But then it started flowering and I couldn't get myself to pull them up. So, that being said, the weather has cooled down, and I'm wondering how I'm going to cure these. I don't really have a warm, humid space without utilizing the weather that I could cure these. I'm just trying to brainstorm different ideas on how to create that environment. Right now our nights are dropping down to the 50s. We actually have a bit of a cold snap coming in starting tomorrow, and I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna make this work. I mean, I could put them outside, put a black tarp over them, and hope it heats it up enough during the day to retain some of that heat just by the black tarp absorbing the sun. But given the cool downs at night, I'm not really sure how that will impact curing, if it will halt it, if it'll just take longer. I guess I could maybe put it in the garage with like hot water and a water heater in it. Make like a makeshift humid environment in a tent or like plastic canopy. I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know, because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do those, and those sweet potatoes are going to be coming out soon. Some people may not be familiar with what kind of tree this is. This is a loquat tree. It is kind of like a mixture between a plum. It's technically a citrus, but it doesn't look or taste like a citrus and doesn't act like a citrus. But what it does is it blooms in the fall. It's getting ready to bloom here shortly. It carries its fruit through the winter to ripen in the spring. Now, the tree itself is hardy down to like 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which in South Carolina is more than enough. It can even handle brief stints colder than that, but the fruit is only hardy to 27 degrees. Now, we do get below freezing. It is not uncommon for us to get into the 20s. We usually don't for any extended period of time. Even one night dropping to 24 degrees, 25 degrees would be enough to kill off the fruit, because it's more tender than the plant, than the tree. So if it gets killed off because of the cold, you're not going to get fruit in the spring. last year we actually had a unusually cold December. We had a week where it got down to 17 degrees every night for a solid week. That is unheard of here. The ground doesn't freeze here. The ground froze solid. So what I did, and I'm going to adopt from now on for any of my cold sensitive plants that are just getting a little too obnoxious to try to bring inside for the winter, I wrapped Christmas lights in them. The ones that produce just the minusculest amount of heat. And then put a blanket or a sheet over that, or plastic, depending on what I had available. Turn the Christmas lights on when the temperature drops, and it actually is just enough to warm up that area and keep the plant going. That actually saved all my fruit last year. Last year was the first year I had this plant, and actually set flowers the first year I had it. So I had never tried it prior to that, and really wanted to save the fruit so I could try it. And this worked beautifully. So I'm going to be adapting that in the future. I do have a few plants that have gotten too big to bring inside. So we'll see how it works. Alright, so we're in the front garden, and it's not quite as active as a back garden. We do have some flowers coming back now that we've had a bit of a cool down. You might notice I still have a watermelon vine twining through my entire flower bed. That's okay. What the HOA doesn't know won't hurt them. Couple of sunflowers. I have no idea why this one got such a crook in the neck. She's pretty. She's probably only got another day or so before she starts to get a little sad and droopy. Okay, continuing on, following the watermelon vine. I'm going to be doing a complete overhaul of this garden area here over the winter. It is solid clay, and I'm really struggling with that. It works fine in the beginning of the year, but then our rainy season comes in and it doesn't drain, and just everything dies. I've lost 2 trees in here actually so far. So we're going to bring in some new soil, amend it, get this a little bit better draining hopefully. My plumeria is still blooming beautifully. It is starting to feel the cold a little bit. This doesn't really like anything 45 or below, but she started dropping some leaves. I'm just turning yellow because of the cold. It is a tropical plant, so this will be coming inside for the winter. But oh man, absolutely stunning and so amazingly fragrant. Back to following the watermelon vine. Oh, what do you know? A watermelon. It's orange tender sweet growing up here. And I love this variety. I will grow it from now on. We might have enough time for that one to ripen up. I think we will actually. I think it'll be okay. I keep following the watermelon. Oh, another one. Now this one, I have no clue if it's ripe. It's very stunted. I didn't think I had enough nutrients in the soil, so I fertilized, and the other one's growing a lot better. But the tendril's already grown up, browned, and the spoon leaf is already browned. The underside, it doesn't have much of a ground spot, so I'm having a hard time judging the color off of it. I don't know. It could be ready. It might need a couple more days. And again, it's also had a dried tendril and ground spoon leaf for a while now, a couple weeks now, so we'll see. And then I had mentioned before that my pomegranate plant had its first little fruit. Look how cute that is. Oh, it's so adorable. But unfortunately, it will not have time to ripen. I read that it takes up to 7 months, between 5 and 7 months, for them to ripen. And this was it was a late pollination, so oh well. It is a dwarf variety, so maybe I'll be surprised. I'm not sure if we get full-size fruit off of this or if it stays more of a decorative dwarf size. It was just a mystery find one day, so we'll see what happens, but I'm not expecting much. Oh, and Dorman red raspberries. These are the ones I mentioned that I had planted in the main garden bed. that I had ended up moving over here, and well, they're still trying to take over the main garden bed. But they are ripening and looking good. None of these have made it into the house so far because I eat them right off the plant, which I'm going to do again here in a second. Okay, so if you live in the South and you're as desperate to grow raspberries as I am, you may find finding the right variety challenging. Raspberries are very, very sensitive to humid, damp conditions. Most of them are. You can grow them. They won't necessarily thrive. You may or may not get consistent fruiting off of them. But I did a lot of research because I grew up picking raspberries with my dad, growing raspberries with my dad. It's kind of a core memory there, and I needed to do the same thing when I got my own house. I found they're called Dorman red raspberries. They are raspberry. They taste very, very similar to a red raspberry, but they're a slightly different genus that is much more well suited for our humid and wet weather and high temperatures. And they thrive in the South. I got 2 canes last year. 2 canes. Plus the ones that are coming up in the backyard. Plus the ones I have given to friends and neighbors. They grow fast. So starting with 2 canes isn't necessarily a bad thing. And they make a good sized berry. Now with the cooler weather comes persimmons. They're getting closer every day. Camera's not really picking up on the color all that well. They're a really pretty honey color right now. They still have a ways to ripen, and they will likely be the last thing on this tree. Like the leaves will fall off and then they will ripen. But first year fruiting on this persimmon tree. So far so good. They're getting closer. And if you've been watching my videos, probably saw the one where I built the dragon fruit trellis here. It had no issues, no transplant shock. It's doing just fine. And this is a cutting I took off in May of the main plant, which is over here, large and in charge. I am afraid that this trellis that I didn't plan ahead for isn't going to hold up forever because it's a heavy plant. That's why I'm trying to, you know, make the proper one before it gets out of hand and I can't work with it. But had bloomed about a month ago and set fruit, although I'm not quite sure if it's doing what it's supposed to. It's looking a little, I don't know, hard to tell. Like some of the guides I view online have it looking like this and then it starts growing, but it's just not really getting any bigger. But I do have another flower that's going to be opening here soon in the next few days. So maybe we'll get a chance to try again. Yeah, she big. She real big. And this is a prime example of raspberries just not thriving in the South. This is the Anne's Golden. Well, I think it's an Anne's Golden. It was mislabeled. And I do get quite a lot of fruit off of it, but you can see by the end of the year it's just a little scraggly and diseased. It's not producing as much as I would hope overall. Plus, lately something has been eating the berries. I don't know what it is. It's even getting the ones on the inside of this netting here. I think either lizards or slugs. I can protect against birds, but not much I can do about lizards and slugs. Oh, I needed to get into a shady area. I was getting blinded out there. Well, I believe that wraps it up for today's garden tour. I think I showed you everything that's going on right now. If you have any ideas for the sweet potato, I would love to hear it. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.